All right, man. Well, I hit record. That's my biggest fear is not doing that. So
I've done it once, only once.
really,
Yeah. Try to avoid it if I can,
when did you find out that you didn't hit record at the very end or towards the middle?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, if you found it towards the middle, at least you got something to work with.
All right, man. Doc Coyle, man. How's it going, buddy? Thank you for being back on the show.
I know. Cool. Well, it's not quite the same, but make it work.
Yeah. I remember when you were here. I've done the show for like 7.5 years, and I remember I was like, "That's like the probably the drunkest interview I've ever done." And I thought it went well too. Afterwards, I was like, "Yeah, killed it." And then I watched the edit, and I was like, "Oh man."
Well, I'm glad I could inspire something out of you.
Right. So, how's your day going?
It's going all right. Just working on some, getting caught up. A lot of stuff. I kind of, was the tour ended, and I was like just dealing with a bunch of stuff in my life, and kind of just getting back to center and trying to get healthy and just figure out what I'm doing. And then now it's like, all right, I actually have a bunch of work I have to get done, so I'm just trying to check things off, and because Bad Wolves has a show next week in Incarceration, and then God Forbid's playing in September. And there's always a lot of like prep stuff that has to be done for that. So I'm like transcribing songs and figuring out, production and crew and things like that. Cause we're playing like the full album of Gone Forever. So it's like some of those songs we haven't played in a long time. So I gotta get that right.
Oh yeah. That's awesome, man. Incarceration or whatever. That's July 19th, right? Through the 21st.
Date we're playing is, yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing lineup, by the way. I was thinking like you probably interviewed a majority of those people, right?
I'd have to take a look at it. I'm sure there's quite a few alumni on there, but yeah, I mean, pretty much anything that Danny Wimmer does, those fests, man, they don't mess around. So yeah, and I know that day in particular, we have like a really good slot where it's like Il Nino, After the Burial, us, and then Chimera. So it's like we have to bring it. Like we have to bring our greatest show. These bands are gonna make us look like some straight up bitches. I mean, they might make us look like bitches anyway, but we got to do our best not to, at least hold our own.
Right. Yeah. What's it like backstage at an event like that when you see all your friends back there? I mean, is it a party? I'm not a party. I mean, you guys are older now, so.
I mean, sometimes it's a party, but honestly, it's just nice because usually everyone's so busy. So it's one of the few opportunities you get to see everyone kind of in the same place,
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. I was trying to like figure out which my favorite bands are playing, and Biohazard. How cool is that? I mean, I don't know if you're a Biohazard fan. I'm sure you are.
Yeah, I mean, dude. I mean, one of the pivotal shows I saw back in the day, like 98, 99, was Biohazard in Jersey, and it was like, I hadn't seen like a band that was like that professional and like on top of their stuff. It was a real like kind of pivotal moment, and then they kind of become buddies with some of those guys, especially like Billy through the years. And then I actually got to play Punishment with Billy and Evan a few months back, and that was a lot of fun too. So it's, listen, I love the diversity, right? Because you get kind of all different elements of the heavy music world. You get more of the rock side of things, which, Bad Wolves has tended to kind of tour with and be associated with. And then a lot of these bands like Chimera, who go way back with God Forbid, and and then everything new under the sun. There's so many kind of new genres and subgenres and bands kind of making their mark. So yeah, it's an exciting time. Listen, I'm just happy to be a part of this stuff because these slots on these festivals, they're not easy to get. Everyone wants to be on these shows, and some of these we had, like Incarceration, we never played. Aftershock, we never played. So
never played.
No.
Yeah, man. I forgot to show you when you were on the show. You signed something for me. I got everybody to sign it. You put Scott equals best hair, Doc Coyle.
That is a good head of hair. All right.
Hey, thanks, man.
Listen, I mean, you're probably, the age you are now, it's probably not going anywhere, but you need to like make a mold, or like a statue, just so that the future generations will know, of the masterful thick. Because it's not only is it big, it's thick. All right. It's a lot. It's very rich.
Hey, right? Thanks, man. That's all I got, man. That's all I got going for me.
You got a lot more than that, all right? But it helps. Right? Good hair, you go a long way.
Well, you signed that, and then Shifty from Crazy Town signed right next to you. So I don't know
No
if you
shit. Hey,
ever
rest in peace.
rest in peace. Did you ever meet him back in the day?
I never met him. I went to a show. I saw them at the Whiskey just at like, I was like, oh shit, Crazy Town's playing. So I hit up Chris. This is when Chris from Bad Wolves was still in the band. I was like, yo, we got to go see Crazy Town. We just went and partied and had a great night.
Oh,
But
cool.
I've never met him. No.
I was going to ask, I heard in an interview that you used to do, I don't know if you still do DDP yoga. Do you still do that?
So I've done it for years. And then I had this shoulder thing kind of happen, I'd say about a month before the last tour. And it like, I had to stop doing everything. I had to stop doing that. I had to stop, working on the gym and figure, I still don't exactly know what's wrong with it. It's gotten better, but the main issue is still there. And so I'm like kind of afraid to do stuff. So I'm like, I did a little bit the other day, but it kind of sucks because it works really well. And it's a full body workout. It really makes you strong everywhere. And helps out with my back, but I'm a big purveyor of it, but it's definitely hard. And especially like me, like I'm always having like little wrist problems. And now I just had this new thing with my wrist here. This thing is, I gotta go see the doctor about this. Like I have like 15 things. I feel like it's just, maybe it's just getting old. Maybe I need to get on the sauce. All right. Because that's, they say the sauce helps with recovery. I mean, I have like a bump on my like Achilles heel. I'm a mess,
Oh yeah. So, do you ever go see a chiropractor or anything like that? Have you ever done that before, a chiropractor?
Yeah, I went to a chiropractor a lot before I got back surgery.
Yeah. That freaks me out, dude. You like it just like.
Well, I actually use like foam rollers, and I have a couple different ones, and those tend to actually kind of adjust me pretty good, at least with my back. And I do that like every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I mean, it's like snap, crackle, pop over here. It's like, it's no joke.
Well, maybe if like when Bad Wolves gets, I mean, you probably do it now, but like Metallica has their own people, on the road kind of getting in there. You could hire somebody to do that.
Ironically enough, playing with, the wedding band and, being on Metallica tour, a couple of those guys have actually worked on me. So I've had, really nice guys. They know what they're doing. They got some serious people over there. But
how do you get it? How do you like volunteer? How do you do that? Do you just kind of like hang out and be like, hey, when you get done with Kirk and you can hook me up?
No, what I got injured when I was out. It's funny, actually. I've got injured twice. My back has gone out on 2 different wedding band gigs. So I had it went out. Which shows when we played in South Carolina, literally right before we went on stage, my back went out. And I was like, fuck you. And I was,
oh my God.
I was in a lot of pain. And then
what were you doing when it went out? Were you doing, were you just like reaching for something?
So that was before I had surgery. And pretty much before I had surgery, it stopped being predictable. It would just random. I think it was literally like, cause we were rehearsing a lot and we were doing this, this wah competition between Kirk and this other guitar player, Miss Smith, and they were doing like a wah competition, and we were playing the Shaft theme song was like the backing music for this competition. So I was doing the right, and that, right. But it was long, like the competition, like this. We were doing this thing for like 10, 12 minutes, them going back and forth, and we were practicing a lot. So I think literally just my body being slightly askew, wahing for like 4 days. I think that's what actually screwed me up. But who knows? And then the second time, I forget what I was doing. I was just fucking, I don't know. I just think I was just beat up because it was like Bad Wolves had been touring a lot and we played up in Napa. And it just went out. And then so James's guy came and worked on me. So it's just bad luck. I guess I'm my back doesn't like jamming with the wedding band.
Hey, can you tell people about the wedding band? Like, when did that start?
I don't remember exactly when it started because I didn't start at the beginning. I came in later.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, so they were already playing. I guess they'd done a handful of gigs. I don't know how many. But yeah, it's this band. I guess their first gig was at a wedding, which is why they got the name or how they came up with the name. And the band, it's, Rob Trujillo and Kirk Hammett from Metallica. Whitfield Crane from Ugly Kid Joe, and John Theodore from Queens of the Stone Age is the drummer. And then we brought in Mark Astagueda from Death Angel as like a secondary vocalist because we were doing so many different types of songs. It was good to have someone who could do some different stuff to kind of handle some of the other material. And I came in just, I was playing with Rob with some other bands called Mass Mental, and I would just jam, do rehearsals. I did a couple gigs, and then I was supposed to fill in for Kirk Hammett at a rehearsal, and I did so good at the rehearsal that he was like, "Oh man, it'd be really cool if you could get on this gig," and we kind of just figured it out and ended up doing that show, and then they just kept bringing me back. So,
dude, how nervous? Yeah, how nervous were you like when you're just going to meet Kirk Hammett for a play guitar?
I already met him. I already met him because
okay,
I toured with Metallica in 2009.
Yes. Okay.
So
you broke the ice then. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's I felt good because like I said, I prepared a lot for the gig, which is part of the reason why they brought me in. So I felt like I had a good handle on things. So it's like that's part of it doesn't really make me nervous,
okay.
if I feel like I've prepared and I kind of know what I'm doing. It's a matter of just like, I was just really excited and really happy to be there. And like, obviously when, you're about to get on stage, you always have your little nerves and jitters and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think it's like when it sounds good and you're like feeling it, you're having fun. I think it took us, maybe that first gig, it took us a few songs to kind of settle in and start for it to feel good. But dude, it's just an honor. My thing is I'm just trying not to screw up and for him to look at me sideways and go, this guy's kind of stinking up the joint, and because I feel like any gig I get, you never take it for granted that you're going to be asked back or whatever, or like, I say, don't start putting your feet up on the furniture.
Right.
Just never get comfortable and always just be on top of your stuff and be professional. And, but we haven't played in 2 years. It's been a while.
When's the next time you guys getting together?
I don't know. I mean, I think they're really knee deep in their 2-year world tour, which is like they've been, because I did it last year with Ice Nine Kills. I did most of the run, but it basically goes from like April to like November. That's a lot of, and they're not playing every day, but they're playing every weekend, and it's just a lot. It's very intensive, and I'm pretty sure they wanted to focus on Metallica the last couple of years because it's like new album, the biggest tour they've ever done. Keep all the focus on that, and I totally get that. So if they call me, great. If they decide they found someone better looking, smells better, maybe. I appreciate the time I had with them. Either way, it's been a really, really gratifying experience.
I follow. I follow something on Instagram where it just shows James Hetfield smoking a cigar right before he goes on stage, and that's all it shows. It's just him lighting up and it's the coolest thing ever. I don't know if you see anything like that, but he's amazing.
He's the coolest guy. With a guitar, he's like John Wayne. Meets like Clint Eastwood, but he plays thrash metal. Like it's just like Hetfield's got the best stance. He's got the best silhouette. Right, like he's he's like 60 and he's still the coolest guy. He's in better shape. He's been in like years. Like it's impressive.
Carnivore diet and stuff. I saw him on Joe Rogan, and those two guys together was really cool.
Yeah,
talking about man, all that stuff, man.
It takes a lot to be that effective, as you age. So those guys are very healthy. They really take care of themselves, and it's very present when you see them. Like how much they put into it, and how I think it's reflected in the quality of the performances.
Yeah, man. Last question about Metallica, but are you a fan of Saint Anger?
Like I have a definitive appreciation for Saint Anger. And there was a song they were playing on the last tour. Actually, when I did we did the one gig in San Francisco, and then it was the 40th anniversary concert, and they played it. It was called Dirty Window. And seeing that song live, I was like, man, this song it hits. It's almost like a hardcore song. It's got some vibe to it. So listen, I appreciate Saint Anger in terms of like what they were going for. I feel like it I think there's a version of that record that's incredible. But I feel like the presentation of it isn't like, it's not necessarily what I want out of Metallica, but I see the kind of sketch of what could have been, but I do think there's things there artistically that the band really needed to get out, and I love the fact that they stand by it, in terms of like a piece. They're not afraid of it, and in many ways I feel like the documentary Some Kind of Monster is almost a more important piece of art that came out of that. Like the album is almost like it's like the soundtrack to that documentary, and the documentary to me is almost just as or the most important thing about that era, because they really bring you in to all the worst things that were happening to the band and probably in all their career outside of Cliff passing away.
Yeah, good point. And this is before, like, and I say before, it's before YouTube was massive and people were just showing everything. I mean, it's pretty ahead of its time. Would you guys ever do anything like that? Like Bad Wolves show like all the mess and all the good times and bad times? I don't know. Make a documentary like that. I mean,
I personally would love to do stuff like that, but I'm like my instinct is to like overshare and be like very vulnerable and kind of show all my shortcomings. That's like, almost to a fault, I think. But I can't speak to like Bad Wolves as an organization if everyone is like that. I don't think everyone is like that. So I doubt it would happen with Bad Wolves, even though it's something I feel like, because I admire that so much about Metallica, but in a weird way, Metallica, not that they have nothing to lose, but they have less to lose than most bands because they're so massive. They're kind of bulletproof, even if you look at that era as being kind of like a downtime for the band, they were still doing a stadium tour. There's still albums still opening up #1 and all that, and all that kind of stuff, where I think as smaller bands feel more fear. They're like, oh, if we show ourselves in this light, maybe people won't like us, and so on and so forth.
Right. And Chimera had a great documentary as well. Have you watched any of those? I mean, they put out some killer ones back in the day.
I remember the Something Process.
Yes.
I forget the name of it. But God Forbid did a documentary.
Yes,
I think
I've seen that.
That's really good. And really, again, kind of no lies told. Like, we were very open, I think, with our situation. And again, that's always been, that's a little bit more in the DNA of God Forbid. It was kind of like this underdog thing we have in our kind of DNA, and being up to the forefront with, like, I don't know, feeling cursed or having this thing in our thing. Like, we're always, we're defined by our struggle in some way.
Yeah, man. Bad Wolves, when the song "Hungry for Life," whose idea was it to get Chris Daughtry to come in and you guys kind of redid it with his vocals? I'm assuming.
I can't remember if it was John or me or DL. I can't remember who exactly was like first. Like, oh, we should get Chris. But I remember we had done the song, and
Right.
DL had recorded the second verse on his own in his home studio. So it didn't sound. We didn't feel it was quite as strong as the first verse, his vocal performance. And like I kind of became buddies with Chris on like social media, and we met each other at Blue Ridge Rock Fest, and we would just chat and like, talk about like nerd stuff and whatever, just be cool. And, he kind of expressed that, he was a fan of the band and everything. And he actually like posted about our album when it came out, and just been really supportive. And, so I think because to me, it's not necessarily like I just reach out to people and go, hey, let's do a feature. Usually it's like we have a song and a part and we're like, oh, that person would sound good on this. Like, it has to like fit, and that song and that part in particular, we're like, you know what? I think Chris Daughtry would really vibe on it. And then you send it to them, and then you hope they like it, or they hope it would make sense. And, he was really interested in like the lyrical content, what the song was about, and trying to kind of connect to what it's about. And that was, really cool. And once he got involved and he did it really quickly. And he was like he's like calling me when he was at the studio. I was like, oh, I'm working, he'd send us a version of it, and then he'd like add to it and change it. And then like he was really, which is like very rare, like usually it's like when you're doing features, it's like you kind of got to hunt people down.
Right.
Or they do it, they do it in the afternoon. That's it. It's kind of in and out. And he really invested himself into the project and made it better. It wasn't just, oh, I'm going to do this part. Like he's adding harmonies to like the first verse. He added all these like trailing vocals at the end and just made the song a lot better, which is, where it's like weird. Like if I hear the version without him, I'm like bummed because I feel like his, and also just what I love about it is his voice and DL's are so different. Mm-hmm. It feels fresher. You have more things to kind of like keep you interested in the song because their performances are different, their vocal tones are different, and it just makes the song more interesting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's cool that he's so passionate about it. It wasn't just like a job. It just sounded like you guys were cool, and he really cared about how it's gonna come out. That's really cool.
Yeah, dude, the song was out, and he was like, "Oh, it's the wrong mix," and we went in and like, so if you went on, I guess where it was streamed or like download, like we actually replaced the mix, and that was all because of him because he's like, hey, he really cares. It's not just, he's like, as far as he's concerned, it's like his song, and that's really cool. And like he wasn't really involved with a lot of the marketing of the track because he couldn't be because he was putting out his own singles and stuff, so he had to so he couldn't be in the music video or like promote it as he maybe would have otherwise. So despite all that, I know if he could have, he would have like done all that stuff because he definitely cares.
Yeah, man. Have you guys played it live together?
No, because we just did the one tour, and I was looking at maybe some of these festivals coming up, but I think because he's out on some other, I don't think there's any kind of crossover, and we haven't really played the song yet.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever consider, like Daughtry has the tattoo on his back? Would you ever do the Coyle on the back? Just
last my name?
Yeah.
No, I ain't getting that. No. Nah.
I don't know.
I might get something else.
Yeah.
Might get some Eagles wings. On a Harley. All right, with the American flag. Okay, some AK-47s or something.
I don't know why I thought of Creed when you're saying all this, but Creed is blowing up right now. Were you ever a fan of Creed back in the day?
Oh, hell yeah, man. I had, I don't know, was it the first 2 or 3 records? Dude, I was all about it. But then it was like, I feel like back in the late 90s, mid 90s, it was like 2 bands that they just wore out on you. So it was like Creed and Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? Those 2 were on the radio 600 times a day.
Hoobastank was on the radio.
Yeah, but Hoobastank only has like
that was later on.
Really, but Hoobastank really only had like 3 hit songs, like that were like really big at radio. And I love Hoobastank, especially those first 2 records, dude.
Me too.
I'll fight a motherfucker for those first 2 records. But Creed, it was like one of those things where I remember like the radio, especially like big mainstream radio stations, like they would like compress the records. So when you would hear it on the radio, it would sound fucking heavy, like heavier than if you listen to it at home, right? And I remember some of those songs, I was like, man, it's like, oh, this band's kind of cheesy. And you hear one of their like heavier songs, you're like, you know what, man? Fucking Creed, man. I'll punch a motherfucker to Creed, But like it was one of those bands, I think they were like probably like the Bee Gees in the 70s. They were like unavoidable, right? They were everywhere. Yeah. So I think it was that situation where they were really big, really popular, but almost like overexposed.
Right.
And that kind of creates like a backlash.
And same with Limp Bizkit, right? And Nickelback, all those kind of guys, right? They had a backlash.
Yeah, I think in different kinds of ways. I think Limp Bizkit just became kind of the face of what went wrong at like Woodstock 99. I think because Fred Durst had a little bit more of like celebrity status, he ended up kind of representing this scene, this thing that like culturally people wanted to move past, right? So like if you look past like 2001, 2000, and more like 2003, that period on for like good 5-6 years, like no one was rapping over rock for a while.
Yeah.
It was like even Pop Roach stopped rapping.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
for a
Yep.
couple records because it was like not the cool thing. It just people just had enough of that thing, and I think they became kind of the face of that. Nickelback, I think, is just a situation like, they again kind of came to represent this idea of like soulless corporate rock. That again, whether that's I don't think that's necessarily accurate. I think they were doing this things they wanted to do and were great at it. But that idea, and then again that overexposure. I guess that when Photograph and songs like that blew up. But and I Nickelback. I feel like I wasn't a big fan back in the day, but not because I didn't like him. I just didn't know him, and then I became a fan like later when I actually started like. Because it wasn't like, probably, those areas. I was listening to radio, but I guess not that much. I don't know. I didn't really think about it that much. And then later, I started getting some of their heavier songs. I was like, like put something in your mouth, shit like that. Like, that's my shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you all like
Hero? That's a song.
Yeah.
Hero. That's my jam.
Yeah, I had the guy on my show. I can't think of his name now. The Slavic guy.
Scott?
Yes. Yeah. He was super cool.
So, yeah. I was always like, that was my song.
Yeah, man. When you're in like bands like God forbid, whatever, I mean, when you're not on stage, you're not listening to like heavy music all the time, right? So you're listening to wide variety, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, keep in mind, like I've always been a metalhead though. Like, I mean, or like rock music, like that's like, but I liked everything, but I always wore that on my sleeve. Like I wasn't this guy that was like, oh, I get off and I don't know if like, oh, what's that band? Oh, I don't listen to metal, so I don't know. Like, some guys were like, they literally don't listen to any metal. So when they make a record, there's no influence. They don't know what's going on. And I feel like, obviously like I'm a fan and I want to find out what's going on. And I want to, but I always felt like I had to stay in touch with what's going on musically and what younger bands. And because I think almost like almost thinking like an artist manager, like, okay, you want to go on tour. All right, what bands should you go on tour with? What makes sense? Who's cool? Like, and if you don't know, then you're relying on other people to kind of make that decision for you. So I've always tried to really stay current, and it's tough. It's really hard. There's so much music and so much. I feel like by the time I find about half of the bands are already like really successful. So try and keep it near to the ground much as I can. But I also think there's a downside to that of like over consuming what's contemporary, because then maybe you'll be influenced by it and then you will start maybe trying to sound like what's going on instead of like doing your own thing. So there's got kind of a double-edged sword,
Gotcha, man. So your singer from Bad Wolves, DL, I feel like he's highly underrated. He's such a great frontman. I'm watching all these videos. How did he get in the band? Were you friends with him before?
I've known DL since 2004 when he was playing with Acacia Strain. He was a guitar player. And, he's kind of a legend in his own right, in terms of being a brilliant guitar player, really like innovative songwriter, and like the riffs and tuning low and the things he was doing with Acacia Strain was way ahead of its time. And then, we always just, he quit that band, I forget, like 2010, 2011, something like that. And then kind of went to, do the family thing and be a producer, songwriter. But we always like kind of stayed in touch. And then, he did my podcast when I started my podcast, and we kind of stayed in touch through that. And then when Bad Wolves came out, he would just like hit us up and just like say how much he loved the band, and then he did like, he helped write a chorus on a song, on the second Bad Wolves album. And then, and then we kind of knew, like, we found out that he could sing kind of like during that time. Like, he sent me like this cover. He did like a Seven Dust cover. I was like, that's you? And dude, and I was like, I thought he sounded like Howard Jones. I was like, holy shit, like this guy can fucking sing. And he would send me a couple of things. I was like, damn, I had no idea, and then, kind of when everything went down, he was like the first guy we had all thought of, because like tonally we thought it might make sense. But at the same time, we didn't have a ton of like material of him singing or like, it felt like a long shot, but it was kind of also serendipity as well.
How'd you ask him? I mean, did you just do a meeting where you're just all together?
No, within 24 hours of not having a singer, he sent us a song.
Oh, okay.
with his vocals on the song "Better Off This Way," and it sounded perfect. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, so you guys aren't having a casting call. It's just you just
No,
you wanted
we
him.
still did full auditions
Oh, okay.
and searches for 2 months, 2 or 3 months. Because it's like, yes, that's right there, but we should at least like kind of comb the earth a little bit and see what's out there. And no, we did like real. We had probably, I don't know, 20 people send in demos of them singing Bad Wolf songs, and then then we did about 6 people in person, like in a room, and then we had 3 people like as like work on like new material together, and that was like our final decision.
Oh man, that's cool, man. He's such a good frontman, though. I'm just I want to see you guys play with him live. That'd be really cool. Do you ever get sick of playing Zombie?
Not I guess like I'm sure there's definitely periods where I've gotten sick of it. Well, if we're on tour for a really long time, but I think it's such a important moment. Like it's such a big moment in the live performance, and it's so important to people that I think it's hard to get sick of it, because you feel like you're really satisfying a main thing that people connect to. Like it's so connective, and it's like that one thing we could be doing a festival, or we could be doing some arena show, or maybe they know our other songs, or maybe the show is pretty good. And that moment, all of a sudden, it's like that everyone knows that. And so there is something special about it that you feel like you're kind of the shepherd of something valuable, and you just want to take care of it and make sure that it's in good hands, and that people get something out of it. And it's still powerful. Like, trust me, I've thought like, oh, maybe at some point, like we should just take a break from it. And maybe that still might happen, cause like we did a cover of Ozzy, Mama, I'm Coming Home, which is a really good cover, and it'd be nice to like play that in a set. But then you're like, do you want to play 2 covers in a set? Unless we're playing really, really long. But, I wonder, if like, I think sometimes it's good though to just experiment, but it's weird, right? Because you're kind of in the customer service business, right? And I think depending on the kind of band, right? Like, bands like Tool were like, oh, we're not playing sober for 10 years, or fucking Radiohead won't play Creep for however long. But I think those bands are their kind of mindset is much more antagonistic and kind of artistic, in a sense that's focused inward, not as much on pleasing people. Where I think the kind of band we are a band that gets played on the radio. We are a band that is kind of factored a little more towards that. And then, so is it worth it to kind of make people less happy so that you can be happier, or not even that you're going to be happier, just so you can kind of like buck the trend, So I think you have to have the right motivation behind it. Don't just like do it. Don't do it because you think you're trying to be like a rebel or something, right? So, I feel but I'm fine with that, and you just see how it goes. Maybe you do it and people are bummed out, and you're like, you know what? We don't really want to bum people out. We want to make people happy. So I don't think either way is right, by the way, either. I think if you're the kind of band who goes, you know what? We want to play the hits so that people are happy, that's totally fine. And if you're a band who goes, you know what? We're trying to please ourselves, and you guys can either come along with the ride or not, I think that's great too. I don't think there's like a right way.
That Mama, I'm Coming Home would be a great cover too. Will you guys ever record another cover, or is that kind of done?
Well, we did Mama Come. We recorded that.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that. That's cool.
You should check it out. Yeah, it came out.
Yeah,
it came out really good. Yeah, I mean, we've like thrown around some ideas. I think there was some hesitancy, for a few years, because you don't want to be known as that, I want to say you don't want to be known as that. I think you don't want it to be utilized as a gimmick. As like, oh, well, this is our only pathway towards notoriety. I think you really do have to make it on your own material. And if you're going to do a cover, do it don't do it cynically. Do it because it's like, you know what, we're vibing this, we're feeling this, we think this is cool, we like it, you know. But I've always been a big fan of covers. I played in cover bands. I've done a million stuff like that. So I'm always into that idea. And you know, but it's just got to be good at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. When you talked about DL being on your podcast, I got to go back and listen to that. Is that still available? That episode? Yeah, that's really cool. I want to go back and check that out. How long have you been doing your podcast for? That's been a while now, right? What, 7-8 years maybe?
2016. Yeah.
2016. I thought you were about to say 26 years. Like no. 26 years.
I invented podcasting. No. Yeah, 2016, just did 250. Released my 250th episode this past week. And yeah, man, it's I love the medium. But it's a lot of work. You understand that.
Yeah, but you've been doing longer than me, man. So yeah. Did you have somebody that kind of helped you along when you first got started, or did you just do it all yourself, figure it out, everything?
I'm trying to think I was like, at the time I was like a regular on Metal Sucks podcasts.
Yeah.
And then I had done Josta. Had I done Josta at that point? I'm sure I had done Josta. Yeah. Or maybe I hadn't. I don't know. But I was a fan of, I feel like it's more like I was just a big fan of podcasts. And people like, Mark Maron's, WTF, and I really liked
it. I liked
what was the one? The guy does Hardcore History, Dan, forget his last name. Really liked his podcasting style. Sam Harris, I liked these great communicators, and so that was really influential. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of anyone like helped me. I'm sure I asked some friends like, oh, what do you use for this? Like maybe what service? And I can't remember who I probably asked. Like, oh, I use this. So I ended up using this thing called Libsyn. As a RSS feed. So I'm sure I asked some friends questions, but off the top of my head, I can't remember, so damn long ago, who probably had podcasts, and I probably bugged them and asked them for some questions. But I did it pretty much all on my own. But the way it came out, the reason why it really, really started was this guy, Mike Mowry, who's a artist manager, works with Ice Nine Kills and a ton of other bands. Known him for a long time. He started a podcast network. And he was like, oh, I he saw what I did on some other shows. He goes, I think you'd be a good podcast host. And he's like, you have any ideas or anything? I was like, yeah, I got this one idea. I told him about the X-Men, and then I did a demo, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, he didn't think that it was like really good. I don't think he didn't think the concept was original enough. And so I decided, I was like, and at that point I already recorded 3 episodes. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just put it out on my own. And I put it on my own, and it blew up. It hit all the podcast charts, and people were kind of freaking out about it. And then he came back and he goes, yeah, I'm stupid. Come back over. I guess I don't know what I was talking about. But I didn't care. It was fine. But at the end of the day, like, if he didn't give me that motivation, I probably wouldn't have done it on my own, or at least I wouldn't have done it that soon. So
yeah.
So it's, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I didn't interrupt you, but I love like the intros you do, and I don't think a lot of people can do that. Like I hear Bill Burr does it, like his Monday morning, where he has these long intros. When you record your intros, do you ever go back and be like, I shouldn't have said that? I need, you know what I mean? Like, you just
I never
record
even
it done.
I record. I never even listen to them again. I mean, maybe I'll listen to it like in happenstance or something, but.
That's amazing. You just put it out there and don't care. You see, that I would worry. I'd be like, I shouldn't have said this. Or I would, I get too caught up in my head about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think my only hang up about it is like when you dive into anything political, and then you feel like you're, that half the crowd is like already out on what you're saying, if you feel like you're on one side of the fence, the other. And that's the only thing that bothers me, because I don't want, my goal is not to like be divisive, you know, but I think at the end of the day, the reason why people may or may not trust you as a host, or you trust your opinions, is they think you're pulling punches, or they think you're not being genuine. So I think if you honestly feel some way, you just have to go, okay, this is how I feel. And if someone doesn't like it, that's okay.
Yeah.
And 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 with me, it's like, I don't believe in hyperbolic communication. I think that's at like the heart of everything wrong with social media, because the more hyperbolic you are, the crazier shit you say, the wildest take, the most far in one direction, that gets the most attention.
Mm-hmm.
So it creates a really broken incentive structure and toxic incentive structure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try and be thoughtful, in what I'm saying, and not just like just go off to get attention. I almost do the opposite of that.
Yeah. I love that. I love your podcast so much, man. Who's I'm trying to read my notes, which I love doing these podcasts because I can write notes too. But is there anybody like on your that you want to interview, like on your bucket list that you haven't got yet? Is there like a Dave Grohl or some kind of big dude out there that you want to have on your show?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure probably all the ones you probably think about. It's the main heroes. It's Slash and
Yeah.
probably Dave Grohl, and I was trying to get Kirk Hammond on, and I know he would do it. I just don't think the schedules have lined up. So I'm sure at some point we'll lock something down. Still would love to get Newstead on. Mustaine would be awesome. I'm sure there's probably and there's a handful of people, just like random people that maybe not like the biggest names in the world, but people I've like wanted to talk to, like Sean Martin, who used to be in Hatebreed, is someone I've been trying to get for years. And
what about Chino, man, from Deftones? That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like, I think there's some people where like speaking to Chino, I don't even know where I would begin. Because I remember like there was this podcast, what's his name? I forget his name. He's a British guy. Daniel P. Carter has a show called Swim, and he interviewed Chino, and it was so like,
that's cool,
deep and intellectual and like layered and textured. And I was like, this is the kind of interview I want to hear from with Chino. And I'm like, almost, I guess I had that in my head, of like these kind of deeper kind of conversations. So I think mine is very autobiographical in a way, and it's interesting. I'm sure like off the top of my head, I probably have to like sit down and come up with a list. But the ones you kind of got, those are the ones that have been like I like have been at the forefront of what I've thought about. But but in truth, like the last few years, I've been probably since like 2021. Mid 2020, I've been so career focused. It's like the podcast almost takes a little bit of a backseat.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done it live before, like X-Men podcast in front of an audience?
Once I did it with Roy Mayorga.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. How'd that go?
It was like not as I don't know. It didn't quite have the flow I wanted to, and I had some like technical issues, like audio issues with the kind of venue and stuff, and some, but it worked. It was cool, but it wasn't exactly what I was trying to do. So I've kind of it kind of scared me off a little bit about doing it. I'm sure I could do it again. I think something like that you'd want to have almost like regular, like, oh, I'm in this place and we do it on these dates, and you can kind of promote it and kind of do a thing. But it was, it was a fun experiment.
Dude, with the title X-Men, have you ever, is that ever affected? Like, have you ever wanted to interview somebody that was an X-Men, just like an actor or a comedian, but the title of your show, does that affect that? Or could you just kind of?
No, I mean, I've talked to all kinds of people, film directors.
That's cool.
All it's never it's like, that's more of a hook. And there are certain shows I call, this is like a classic X-Men show, but not every show is that. Not even close.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure early on, probably if you listen like the first 30 episodes, it's a little more like that's the theme, and then I kind of just utilize the framework to kind of do whatever I want.
So do you release episodes every, like, is there a schedule to it, or do you just do it like every other week or something like that?
There hasn't been a schedule in a while. I mean, ever since, yeah, probably going back a couple of years. Yeah, probably since like 2022, there hasn't been a schedule, because like once I started touring a lot, and again, it's not things were a little different. You know, when Bad Wolves first started touring a lot, I wasn't running the band business, right? So really all I was doing was playing guitar in the band, and I could just focus on that. So it left me time to kind of go, okay, I'm going to be on the road. And even then it was still a little herky jerky, but you know, during the pandemic, when I was home, like everyone was home, I got it real scheduled. And it was, you know, that is how to do it right. That's how your show will be successful, is by being consistent, you know. But I just couldn't do that, you know. And so it kind of comes out when it comes out, you know. But
I'm so glad you do it, because Rob from Machine Head, I loved his podcast, and then he just kind of quit doing it. I don't know if he's going to start it back.
Again, I mean, that guy runs a massive band, you know. That's a lot of work, and you can't, you know, you can only wear so many hats and do things well, right? You can do something, but if you're not going to do it well, and when he was podcasting, he was really good at it. And awesome, I liked his approach. I thought was cool. He did some things that other people weren't doing. I thought the way he was able to connect with people in a like really getting people to open up was very unique.
Yeah, you're on the show. Yeah, he talked to you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he also he did a lot of them. He was really prolific. So like, I think once the Machine Head thing got up and running, and then, you know, when he got the new lineup, and he, you know, they tour a lot, man, and they were always working on music. They're always doing things. So he's you know, I totally get it. Even Joss has slowed down quite a bit, you know, because they're just busy, and it's hard, man. Unless, again, if you do what we do, it's not like other jobs, you know. We're like just being gone for like months and months. It's very hard to do anything consistently at home. You know, so we have a very unique kind of viewpoint that, where I think like a comedian, for example, like their podcasts are fucking huge. They make a lot of money doing those podcasts. So it's really incumbent upon them. And it's not like, you know, yes, comedians do tours, but usually it's only the big ones that are like out for a month straight. Like it's, you know, it's Chris Rock or something's going to do it. But most of them, they go on the weekends, right? All right, go to the weekend, I come home. So they can make their life a little more regimented to like make sure they're doing their podcast. And like I said, their podcasts are like their bread and butter. That's like, some of them make more money from that, or as much money from that as anything they do, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, with Bad Wolves, what's the next tour you guys are doing? I know you just did one with POD, which is crazy. I love those guys.
So it's like 2 tours kind of pushed together in November and October, but they're not, I can't spill the beans just yet. But we're gonna be it's like 2 co-headline tours. I will say we are going to Canada, so nice. There's actually a date out there. So if anyone wants to look it up, they can spoil the tour. But yeah, we're gonna be doing like, it'll probably all in all be like 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks to close out the year, and then we're doing a bunch of festivals this summer. So we're doing Incarceration next week, and then we do Sturgis Bike Rally, we do Rocklahoma, and we play Aftershock, and then we're also doing another show in Wyoming with Atreyu and Fame on Fire for like some kind of county festival thing.
Yeah, these festivals, you enjoy playing them? It just seems like it's so hot. I mean, are you used to playing like when it's just hot as balls? You know?
I mean, when it's hot on a festival, I mean, dude, we played the last time we played Rocklahoma. We played the main stage, played right in between Dorothy and fucking Jelly Roll, and it was right on you. And dude, actually, the same thing. We played same tour we played with Falling Reverse, and with our set time right in the sun. And that's things like you play. So if you're on tour, right, and you're like, it's like a 4-band lineup, and you're playing at the same time, so you're playing at like 6 o'clock every day. That's like, and they always face the sun towards the band because they don't want the crowd to have the sun in their face.
Right.
So we were literally like on that one tour, the 2022 summer tour, the Rockzilla tour, every day when it was outdoor show, it was like we were playing at the hottest time. And that shit, like, dude, it fucks you up. But it's also like your gear can get fucked up. Like we have like computers and playback, and if they overheat, like you're fucked.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah.
Do you have fans on them and stuff?
Yeah, you have fans, or you cover them up. Dude, there's all kinds of shit you do.
Is it rougher the older you get? Because you guys, God forbid, did the Ozfest back in the day. So, I mean, is it harder the older you get with the heat?
Sure, everything's well, you know, worse the older you get. But yeah, the heat can, and by the way, like the heat will it'll make your guitars go out of tune. Because you have black guitars, like it causes, you know, it can cause a lot of problems. But yeah, it's no joke. It definitely, you play a long set, if the sun's directly in your face and it's 95 degrees, you feel sick after it. It fucks you up.
I appreciate you being on the show, man. I love your lighting. I'm learning stuff because I'm looking at myself and I'm like, man, I look like crazy. And you got the perfect lighting. Yeah, man.
Yours looks good. Listen, I'm gonna get it way better though. Some point. All right. This is just very much like sweet.
Yeah,
just get it there.
Yeah, I'm not used to not seeing you the big headphones on. So you like the ones you're wearing now better?
I just did this. This is the first time because I got this like extender because I just, you know, like having, you know, it just looks a little more pro. I don't know.
It does, yeah.
Trying to mix it up. Plus, I get bleed too. I'm gonna try this when I do my Zoom calls because I have open back headphones and then it bleeds into the mic, and then I have to do all this extra editing because of the vocal bleed. So
yeah, Vocal Bleed. That's a good song or band name, Vocal Bleed. Doc, man, I appreciate being on the show, man. This is awesome that you returned back.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you. And, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, and I look forward to seeing you guys live. Be cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're still like what, near Atlanta?
Yeah, you guys coming to Atlanta?
We were just there. We just played at what was that theater? In with POD, it was great.
Oh, was I there?
I don't think so.
No, yeah, I'm trying to think. It was probably Tabernacle or one of those places.
I forget the name of it. I have to look up. But it was beautiful, really beautiful theater. A really nice like donut place next door.
I should know this, man. I'm drawing a blank.
I'd have to look it up, but yeah, we were just there not that long ago.
Cool. I'm sorry I missed it, man. Next time I'll definitely try to go out. That's cool, man.
All right, there's a lot of shows in Atlanta. Actually, I think like Periphery might have been playing the same day as us or something. There was a lot. There was like it was right around Welcome to Rockville, so there were a million tours coming through. So there were probably like 7 shows that week. You know, every night.
Yeah. So. Dude, one of my big dilemmas right now is Seven Us is playing Seasons from start to finish in Atlanta, and Creed's coming to Atlanta the same night. So I'm like, can I do both? You know,
probably not. You have to because they're probably gonna play exact same time. So
yeah. So I don't know which one to do. But anyway, man, Doc, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man.
Anytime. Hey, thanks for having me.